Canadian home sale information is out. Canadian home sales are up 6.6 compared to the same time last year. Does this mean prices are going to go to the moon from here? No, not exactly. Okay, at first glance, it sounds like a strong rebound, but the reality is a little bit more complicated. According to CREA, the Canadian Real Estate Association, 45,973 homes were sold last month, up from just over 43,000 in July of 2024. Now, that's a solid increase in numbers, but it's important to remember that July of 2024 was a particularly slow month, so the percentage growth is coming off a very low base. Sales also rose 3.8% from June, marking the fourth consecutive month of growth. Now, since March, national home sales have climbed more than 11%. The GTA is clearly leading the way though, with transactions jumping actually 35.5% since March. But again, we're coming off a very low base. We're talking rock bottom low base here. Now, economists say much of this growth is actually driven by a pent-up demand from earlier in the year. Demand that was actually sidelined by higher interest rates and economic uncertainty with all the Trump stuff and all the stuff politically happening. Essentially, the recovery we expected months ago didn't actually disappear, it just got delayed. Now, looking ahead, further rate cuts from the Bank of Canada could provide additional stimulus. We don't know how much stimulus it'll give to the market, particularly in Ontario and British Columbia, because there are still significant challenges we face. Affordability remains extremely stretched in these two provinces, and the job market right now is looking weaker than ever, especially when we compare it to previous years. Vancouver actually saw a small decline in sales, down 2%, although real estate boards there are reporting that the market is starting to stabilize, which I'm not sure because I'm in Toronto, so you guys let me know if you're in Vancouver what you're seeing there. Inventory is another key piece of the story. So new listings were essentially flat month over month, but overall there were about 202,000 homes for sale across Canada, up 10% from last year, which is right around the long-term average. The average sale price of a home in July was $672,000, up just 0.6% from last year. Now, the home price index, this is CREA's, they call it the HPI, home price index. It's designed to track home prices more accurately. It actually was unchanged from June. So while sales activity is picking up, prices are staying flat. And for many buyers, that means opportunities are definitely still limited because of affordability, because of interest rates still being higher. Again, people are having problems qualifying. That's the big deal, guys. People aren't earning enough to save for the down payment. People's incomes aren't high enough to qualify for typical A lenders like all the big banks in Canada. And also at the same time, everyone's credit score is getting a massive hit right now, right? The banks like a good credit score when you borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars to go buy a property. So if you're coming in with a credit score of 500 or 600, you don't really look very strong to a bank or a lender. Now, what are people saying about this release, right? About these home sales being stronger than last year? So people are saying different things. Obviously, the internet is crazy. Some people are pointing out that move-in ready homes are selling quickly, and I would agree with that, while fixer-uppers in less desirable areas are sitting on the market. And of course they are, because a very unique property that's beautiful in a great area is going to sell quickly even in this market, and we're seeing that. Some argue that 6.6% increase in sales is actually misleading since it's measured against last year's weak numbers. While others think we may be near a bottom, with buyers and sellers finally meeting somewhere in the middle on price. There's also a more cautious perspective. High inventory, economic uncertainty, and potential foreclosures could still put downward pressure on prices in certain neighborhoods. So when we combine all of this, the story becomes very clear. Yes, sales are up, but mostly because they were down earlier this year. And we're coming off such a low base, guys. This isn't a runaway boom. It's very obvious. This is more like a bit of stabilization, kind of a bit of a bounce back. The GTA is obviously clearly carrying all the numbers here nationally, and the homes moving fastest are those that are priced well and ready for immediate occupancy, right? Vacant homes in very good areas, unique properties that certainly stand out amongst all the other inventory on the market. Now, properties that need work or are in less desirable areas, not the greatest neighborhoods, are still struggling. Now, this is my opinion and what I think. From my perspective, what we're seeing is a bit of more of a healthier, more balanced market. Buyers aren't expecting massive discounts anymore. Well, some are, and you can obviously lowball right on any listing as much as you want. You know, the whole concept of offending the seller, yeah, you could, but I don't really agree with that, that whole frame of mind. I think if you have an offer, even if it's lowballing, an offer is great nowadays. Putting an offer shows that you're interested in the property and it allows room for negotiation and discussion between both parties. And sellers are starting to be more realistic about what the market will bear, right? A lot of sellers are continuing to lower their price, even if it is slowly, because they know that the buyers aren't willing to pay these prices anymore. We're not in that frenzy anymore, but we're also not in a free fall. We're in a more stable, I would say more balanced market for sure, but obviously with the power leaning toward the buyer. It gives both the buyer and seller a chance to actually make a smarter, more deliberate decision. They can really think about these things instead of just reacting emotionally out of fear or hype or FOMO because there's 20 offers on a property. This market isn't about flashy headlines, dramatic price spikes up and down. We are in a balanced recovery, okay? I would even say a cleansing of the market. And it's going to take a very long time because there's so much crap in the market, okay? And we're cleaning it all up right now. So if you're a buyer, focus on well-priced, move-in ready homes in good neighborhoods. And if you're a seller, understand that buyers are cautious and they won't overpay just because the market seems to be rebounding in terms of the sales figures. So this period of stability might actually be one of the best opportunities to make careful, informed decisions for a very long time, especially if you can get a good deal as a buyer right now. So let me know what you guys think of that.